Okay, everyone. I wanted to give an example, some things I saw in the discussion questions, the past two, that I think maybe I can address. So I'm going to do that. Uh, some of these will be helpful to major assignment. Some of them will not be and will just be helpful to your understanding of the material. So here I have some scores before I have these students listed. I listed out 100 of them. I randomly generated the values before and after. Maybe this is before watching my videos. Maybe this is after watching my videos. Um, and I have a mean, median, standard deviation, and range for both before, after, and change. And I have change here that I'll figure out. I have a percent of improvement from the improvement data or the change data. I guess I should call it change because it may not be improvement, right? 60% of the change data. Let me call it that. That'd be better. Just because I don't know whether this is going to improve or not. Just like when you guys do the major assignment, you may not have improvement. You might, you guys are doing the tutoring center, it may not improve, it might improve. So, okay. There we go. Okay, so then we'll find the 68% of the change data is between these bounds, 95% of the change data is between these bounds. We'll do our scores before, we'll do a frequency table, we'll do our scores after, we'll do our change in scores, and then in each one of these, we'll do the mean score for each one. Oh, this isn't with tutoring. Mean score, let's change that. Scores before and over here, scores after. I just kind of created this, so sorry about the. I do understand that maybe you'll want to watch it on uh, dual speed, mean score change. Okay, let's start the process. Let's do this. So change. Change should be before minus after, but I won't use numbers because that would be a lot of work. Equals minus after. Before minus. I could do after minus before. Yeah. Oops, what are you guys doing? You guys are doing after minus before, I think, in the benchmark. Or maybe on the assignment, let me do this one after minus before. Ideally, I'm going to hope that it's positive, meaning that the score is improved, though I can see that the first one is not going to be. So that's been done. Um, there's a neat thing if this is set up as a column where I can double click and it'll automatically do everything. Now, maybe you're not able to double click. It's not working well for you. That's fine. We're going to undo. You can still click and drag, right? Click and drag. Bam. Click and drag, same values, nothing changed on that. Okay. So however you fill it, you need to fill it. Mean. We want the mean of the before data, which is this data. So this is equals average. You can click on it if you want. You double click, and then you just select all that data. So you drag it all the way down. And then some observations. A lot of you are working on a laptop, so that's why I want to mention that. Close this parenthesis, hit enter. Okay, so some observations. The mean was 47.1, which is fine. knowing that this is B3 to B20, and you'll notice a colon in between the two, uh, I can find the median by using the median formula. So median, and I'm not going to double click it. I'm just going to start with a parenthesis. You'll notice it's not capitalized. It's okay. I also know it was B3 colon B10. Was it four? Four, I think. I'll look in a minute. Close this, hit enter. I didn't capitalize. It was 102. Oops, change that four to a two. Two, hit enter. There we go. So this sums all of those values up and divides by 100. This puts all of these values in numerical or ascending order and then finds the middle. Then we're going to do standard deviation. This is standard deviation of a sample, not of a population. So ST, and you can use stdev.s. It's a sample. It's not a population. So I'm going to use that. In which case I'm also going to do B3, B102. Close my parenthesis, hit enter. Let's put that. These are values. These are the same unit. Mean and median are the same unit as what's here. Standard deviation is not a unit. So I'm going to turn this, but I can turn it into a percent because I'm dealing with percents. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I'm going to also take that little piece away. So that means standard deviation from my mean, I can go up one standard deviation, or from my mean, I can go down one standard deviation, which will help us answer these. Well, not for before, but later. We'll do it in the change column. And then my range. So my range is my maximum minus my minimum equal max B3 B102. I find it just easier to type these when I am using a laptop than selecting all of them over and over again. Maybe because I have fat fingers. I don't know. I just struggle sometimes. And I know some of you do also, not max. Try that again. This should be the minimum. Min. You can click on those. I'm just typing because it's faster. Close that parenthesis, hit enter. Wow. So 98.5 is my range. So my highest is whatever my highest is, my lowest is whatever my lowest is. I didn't need to see what they are. I just know my max minus my minimum is the range of spread that this value has. This is my before column. And some of you did the same thing for your after column, which is what you should do. And then some of you got confused on your change. You said, well, this was after minus before, right? After minus before, or before minus after. I don't remember what yours was in the DQ. And you said, well, I must do the same thing, after minus before, after minus before. And it was a self-grading, and it gave you the right answer for this one because it's equivalent. But as you get down here, it's not equivalent. And so it was like something's wrong. And it kept giving you that it wasn't, in the self-grading one, it wasn't showing up as graded. So what I'm going to show you is don't work harder, work smarter. This function, if I move it over to after, it's going to change my B to C's. So let's move it to after. You see a different value, but you'll notice that my average became C3 to C102 instead of B3 to B102, which means I collected all of this column. So I should be able to just do this. And interestingly enough, if you look at this, This is D3 to D102, and it is after minus before. That does work. But it's also, this is not after minus before. This function is the average of all of this data. They should match here. But the cool part is I can actually select all three of these or all four of them if I'd wanted to do it first and drag it all the way over. And you'll notice here that I have 47.8, and then I go down to 44.4, and that's a change of 2.8. Is that really 2.8? Not quite. This isn't this minus this either. So you'll notice that they become very different. This range in the change is more drastic. This range is way more drastic. That's okay, but it is a lot bigger. Now, 68, remember in one of the videos that I shared, I did about that one standard deviation when we're normally distributed is 68. One standard deviation above or below is 68% of the change. Two standard deviations above or below, the mean is 95% of the change. And three standard deviations above or below is 99.7%. This is the empirical rule. My hope is you guys watch the video on that. To do that, and I'm going to do the first one, it is 1. It is my mean for my change, so this value. This is a lower bound, so it's minus 1 standard deviation. Okay? Just minus that 1. I could say 1 times that value, but it's essentially the same thing. This is going to be my upper bound. So this one's going to equal my mean. We always start at the mean. And this time we're going to add my standard deviation and hit enter. So 98% of my data of the change data, or 68% of the change data, all of this is between negative 43.8 and positive 45.1. If I want to find out where 95% of the data is, equal, again, start with my mean. This time I'm going to minus, and it can be done multiple ways. I'm just going to minus this, and then I'm going to minus this again, 2 standard deviations. And that's negative 44.3. And then here I'm going to add 2 standard deviations. So I start with my mean, and this time I add a standard deviation, and then I add another standard deviation. 95% of my data in this column lands in between these values. Okay. All right, so let's do our min and max here. We're going to set this up, and then we're going to use these to calculate this and to do a histogram. So this is just the minimum. So this is equals min B3, B102, close my parenthesis. And I do like the idea of subtracting 0.0, or wait, 0.1, not 0.01, 0.1. Oh, this is a 1%. Let's put the percent on there. That should make it better. Let's see if that works. So that looks like the minimum is 0.2%. So somewhere in here, and I'm not going to really find it, there's probably a 0.0 or 0.1 value. I don't know where. I don't really care. I'm not going to look for it. Assuming this is right. Oh no, we subtracted 1, so it would be a 0.3. Oh, it's right there. It'd be a 0.3 because we subtracted 1. We're going to do the same idea with the max. This time we're going to do equal max parenthesis B3 colon B102. Close it. and I'm going to add 0.1 and put the percent sign. I'm also going to correct these so they're in the right uh, number of decimals. I had one decimal, so I really only want one decimal. Okay. All right. So the highest score here was 98.9. Great. I want to find the bin width. How many bins do I have? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. One, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Seven. I have seven. So my bin width is going to equal, or I'm going to open a parenthesis first, and then I'm going to do this minus, so G13 minus G12. You're right. This isn't an assignment you have. You don't get to see this. It's just the maximum minus the minimum. And then I'm going to divide by how many bins I have. I have seven. So that is my bin width. And I could, to be clear, to make things easier, I'm going to go ahead and add the round function. Round, uh, open a parenthesis. I want to round this, go to the end. I want to round this to one decimal place because that's what the other ones have been. And then hit enter. There we go. So they're a bin width. Oh, I need to convert it to percentage. It's not a percentage. Okay. I'm like, why is that showing funny? There we go, percentage. Ah, that makes more sense with only one decimal place. Good. Okay. Um, Wait, maybe I need this to 3 then. 3? Let's see how that looks. That looks better. Okay. Uh, so it's rounded to 3 decimal places or 3 places. Yeah, 3 decimals because it was rounded as a number and I want it to be a percent. All right. My lower limit. My lower limit is just going to equal this. That's the bottom. Right? That's it. This, my upper limit, well, that's going to equal my lower limit plus my bin width. Fairly straightforward. The only thing I'm going to do is I'm going to actually add the dollar signs on here. I don't want that to move. I want to be able to copy my formula. I don't want to do extra work. I don't want to type more than I have to. Now I should be able to, oh, got to build this one. So this new one is going to equal this. I'm not adding anything. I'm just making it as is. Now I can pull this down. Now I can pull this down, and I know it doesn't fill all the way yet because I haven't pulled this down. Now it does. My lower limit is the same as my minimum. My upper limit, my last upper limit is the same as my max. That's the way it's supposed to work. Title of bin. Okay, there's multiple ways to do this. You can add these two, divide by 2. You can use the average function. All right, why don't I use the average function here and then I'll add and subtract over here, or add and divide over here. Um, Equals average, open my parenthesis, and it is this, comma, this, close my parenthesis, hit enter. Now I can drag this down, and that averaged each one of these sets of values. So 0.2 and 14.3, the average is 7.3. 84.8 and 98.9, the average is 91.9. Okay. Some of you used the frequency formula incorrectly. In fact, most of you used it incorrectly. There were a few that were correct, very few, like I think 2. Don't use the frequency formula. Don't use it because you're struggling with it and you're not understanding, which is fine. If you want to explore it deeper, you're more than welcome to. I'm going to suggest you use COUNTIFs. And so that's what I'm going to use. COUNTIF with the plural, and I'm going to click on it. And my criteria range is B3 colon B102, right? And then I put a comma, and then what's my criteria? So I want to count everything that is greater than this value, the 0.2, my lower limit. So I'm going to say greater than, wait, I got to say this, and then do the ampersand, and then do the, oh wait, do I need the ampersand? I think I do. And then greater than, and then we're going to close that, and then we can do the next criteria. So I want greater than that. No, that's saying less than. Get back in there. Ah, dang it. Let's go up here. I want to be greater than that. Okay, and then I'm going to set my criteria. My criteria again is B3. It's the same place, B3, B102, and then comma, and then this time I want to be this ampersand and symbol, and I want to be less than or equal to. So that, and then I'm going to be less than or equal to, and close that. And then let's see if I got that right. Well, I got that backwards. So let's see. All right, let's flip these. I think that's what I need to do. You should always have a value in your first one and the last one. Remember that. We've already had this discussion, so I'm going to say that, and I think this one's backwards too. So we'll put that. All right, now we'll try it. 18. I do need the ampersand. And then delete, put that on this side. And G18. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Now, what do I not want to change? So that seems high, but it's very possible that most of the scores are in there. I don't want this, so I'm looking at my formula. I don't want this piece to change, right? So I'm going to put the dollar sign. I'm going to put the dollar sign, come over in front of the B, put the dollar sign in front of that. I want that one I don't want to change. I don't want this range to change. I'm locking in my criteria range so they don't change when I drag my formula down. I do want my upper limit and my lower limit to change, so that's okay. Good. All right, let's copy our formula down. There we go. Copied down. I could check. My guess is that this is a sum of 100 because that's what it should be. And we can check. You may not be able to check on the major assignment, but yep, it is 100, which is what we expected. Here's some other stuff. Let's see. I know there are 100 students, so this is kind of the way I would do the relative frequency. I would do this as equals, and then I would go down here just because it's easier. I could do a count, but I'm not going to do a count. I'm just going to click there, right? Because that's my 100 mark. I'm going to divide that by That's backwards. Darn it. Okay. Put it in front. I'm going to take this and divide it by the 102. I close that. Okay. And get rid of that. And since I know the 102 I don't want to change, I'm going to go ahead and lock that. Lock, lock. All right. Now we can hit enter and we have this, and we're going to turn it to a percent because that's what this should be. I can, now these should be the same. So 21, 21, 14, this should be 14%, etc., because it's out of 100. If this was out of 102, 101, these values would not match. Some of you had the values match, and you guys were doing it out of 100 and something else. So let's see. How can I make that happen? Well, let's make it happen. Let's take some of these values. Let's take this. Let me do that. Where's that going to be? I don't know. Let me go all the way over here. And let me Control C. There we go. Yeah, I do know they're exactly the same. And I'm going to take this formula and I'm going to drag it down. Yep. Okay. I'm going to take these and we're going to make this not 100 because I can see where that would be confusing. Some of you will do that. So A106. So some things are going to change. That's fine. Let's fix what changes real quick. One, this is A106. The cool thing is there won't be a lot of changes, as many changes as you might think. So I'm going to pull this down. Good. Okay. Now I'm going to go up here and my minimum, and I'm going to add 106. I'm going to add a 6. 6. And then I'll just hit enter, and then I'm going to, nothing changed there. I'm going to add a 6 here. Again, that part should be okay. Good. That should all be the same. Those numbers stay the same. We're going to change our frequency. We're going to add a 6 here. And because we built these with solid formulas, when I drag it down, it should correct itself, which is the beauty of using Excel. So let's see. Now we got 104, which is what we expected, and these values are slightly different. So that's more interesting. Okay, so using this, we're going to use these two columns to figure out our mean scores. So this is really an average of a product. Does that make sense? An average of a product. That is what it is. It is an average of a product. So let's see. Yeah. Hold on, that's not what I want. That's unintentional. Let me pull that off. Okay. All right. So we'll go here. All right. We're going to equal. You're being difficult. We're not doing that. Pull that away. Thank you. Silly thing. Okay. That's not even appropriate. Close. All right. Come on. See, this is why dual speed is my friend, right? You guys should be dual speeding me. Close that. Why isn't it closing? Um, that's interesting. Okay, frozen up. I broke the computer. Seriously? Okay, stop sharing for a second. No, not stop sharing. Pause. Okay, it appears I hit equal and then everything else I was doing was messing with another thing. So let's fix this. All right, again, this is an average, but it's an average of this times this plus this times this plus this times this plus this times this, etc. Right? So the way to do that, that's maybe more efficient than what you may normally be thinking, is to use a function called sum product. Sum product, and you can see it here, and it returns the products of a corresponding array. Come on, double click. Okay, so first we got to select array 1. That is my title of bins. So that is my array, and then comma, and then my array 2. Oops, right there. Okay, they have to be the same size arrays. Then I can close this. Now that multiplies each one of those and adds them together. So then I still need to divide. So I would divide by, and I would divide by, what was it? A 106, right? A106, A106, A106. And I'll double check that that's the right thing. Was it 106? It was 106. Okay. I know it's 104, but that's in cell A106. So because this is percentages, we're going to go ahead and turn it to a percentage. Uh, percentage. There we go. So that's the mean product. That's the easiest way. You could do in parentheses this times this plus 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 this times this, close your parenthesis, and then divide by the 104. You could. I wouldn't, but you could. Okay. So how do we create our frequency distribution histogram? We select our title of bins and we select our frequency. That's it. We don't need relative frequency. That's all we need. We select them. We go to insert. And if you go to recommended charts, some of you went here and got some weird stuff. Just go to recommended charts. Now, okay, in this case, it happened to be the first one. Oftentimes, it's not your first one. It's down here, which is fine, which could be because I've been working on this. This is kind of what the distribution thing looks like. You're not wanting that because that's not a appropriate distribution for this. It's reading the stuff incorrectly. This is the one you want. So we click here. We click OK. It's going to appear. There it is. I'm going to pull it down here. Okay. So it's down here. I'm going to go here. Now I'm going to do the work. I'm going to make it look pretty, right? Or whatever. I need some access. Now, some of you have this button if you're on a non-Apple device. If you're on an Apple device, you still have add chart element, so it doesn't really matter. Let's go up here. We're going to add some axis titles, primary horizontal, and I'm going to add the other one right now, primary vertical. Okay. And so this is my bin titles, right? Or what I name them, bin names. I named them title of bin. So that's what we're going to name, like we've done the work. Okay, title of bin. Good. And then over here, these are frequencies. So we click in there. Frequency. And then over here, we're going to say histogram distribution or whatever you want to call it, but make it make sense. Distribution. Okay. The next piece we need to do is we need to click on one of these bins. That's what we need to do. Is it double click? Double click. Okay. That opened the thing I want, but I want all of them selected, so I'm going to click it again. I'm going to click on it where all of them are selected. I go over to the right where the gap width is, and I remove it. I take it down to 0. There we go. Now we can close that. Bam, we have a histogram distribution with appropriate labeling, and it looks right. If it looks like it's climbing in steps, you probably did something wrong. If it looks like it's descending steps all the way down, you probably did something wrong. If these frequencies do not add up to the total number of whatever you have, and I don't think you guys even have 100. So it's a mistake. Something's wrong. Same thing over here. If these, not these, if this percentage doesn't sum up to 100 or 1, and I can check that on this one, you won't be able to, well, you can buy it with like a calculator. It does sum up to 1, which if I turned into a percentage would be 100%. All of these should sum up to 100. All of 100%. All of this should sum up to however many you totally have. Okay, so this is how this is done. This is how I expect you to do it. This is more than you need, right? I think you're doing a couple of these. I could do another one, and maybe I will just so you guys can see it, so it goes a little faster maybe. But you guys can obviously look back at these. So no, maybe I won't. Actually, you guys can look back at these. This formula is the trickiest one, I think, but it's really not that complex. But there it is. Consider this your criteria range. Make it whatever you need to make it. Okay. Meaning your criteria is not going to be 104 things. I don't know how many you have. I don't remember. I don't even know what column it is in the major assignment, but it's along that lines. And it is greater than if you've set your bin max, right? I set my bin max, my bin minimum down 0.1. So down maybe 0.01, whatever you have. I think yours is for 2 digits, so you go down 0.01. That would guarantee that this formula will work. Okay. Otherwise, you won't end up with 100 when you sum them up, and it'll be because you use the actual minimum and the actual maximum. Don't get me wrong, you can do that, but you have to account for that in your calculations and in your formula on either this one or this one. Well, this one and this one. You got to do it on both. All right. Let me hit enter there. Okay. I think that's good. I'll get this posted as quickly as possible just to help guide you along. I think that's everything that you should be doing in the benchmark. I think that covers everything. You guys had done this in the DQs, but some of you had done this real kind of weird. Yes, I had a lot of weird answers in here where you guys had done this minus this, which works here, doesn't work farther down. There was a couple that didn't quite understand this piece. Most of you were okay here and were okay with this idea, but really kind of messed up with frequency and relative frequency. And I think because in the previous video on the DQs, he was showing 2 different ways to do exactly the same thing. And some of you thought that was this and this. It's not. There are 2 different ways to do this. I would just stick with the COUNTIFs. It seems to be the one that has the least amount of mistakes from the class, from you guys who have just done this. So please keep that in mind. All right. I hope you have a wonderful day getting these done and that you're still thinking about the exam that you guys will be taking tomorrow. So, all right. Have a good day.